You're listening to Real Talk Texas with local expert Steve Hakes. Now, here's Steve.
Thank you for coming back and staying tuned. We've got Alicia Trevino here of Century 21 in Uptown, and she is giving us her expert advice on short sales. And before the break, we were just defining exactly what a short sale is for our listeners out there. And a short sale is basically a situation where the lender accepts a price that is less than what the mortgage is on that's owed to that bank. And we were talking about the process a little bit and how long it takes. Alicia, if you've got a listener out there that's facing foreclosure or bankruptcy or losing their home and they can't keep up, what advice do you have for them?
The advice is to reach out to a professional realtor who can help them. And, that doesn't mean every realtor out there. I would say 10% of our market actually really know and understand the short sale process. There are certifications out there for short sales that they should look for. I think that's really important. Something also that they need to understand is they don't have to be behind on their payments. They can be upside down and reach out to me and I can tell them if they qualify or not. I think a lot of people feel like they're stuck in their home, not realizing that having a new baby, getting married, or moving a mother-in-law into the home that you have to take care of does give them the right to go to their banks and say, I need to change where I'm living because it's not suitable for our family. So there are lots of different ways, and it doesn't have to be that you're just distressed, although we do like to help these folks. It takes a very compassionate realtor to work with some of these homeowners who may be embarrassed to call us and tell us their situation, but that's what we're there for. We're there to help.
And as a lender, a lot of times people don't like to tell their story, and especially when it's not a comfortable one. And I always tell them, hey, bad things happen to good people too. And,
that's absolutely true.
And a lot of times people qualify for a home with both spouses working, and one gets laid off. And so now, even though they're trying to find work, they're straining to try to stay in that home, or they have a child, or like you were saying, things like that that might change the circumstances from when they walked in with full intentions of paying the house off and maybe even staying there the rest of their life.
Well, and it's been a stressful few years for people, with unemployment and people getting laid off. The divorce rate has gone up, and we see a lot of that, and we counsel a lot with folks that are getting divorced. That's something that's very common in a short sale situation. So they just need to reach out. They need to not feel bad about their circumstances, whatever those circumstances may be. We're professionals. That's what we do. We're here to help them to get out of a situation so they can move on with their life. There's nothing worse than hanging on by your nails trying to make things happen when you could easily avoid that. And the banks are being very good at working with us, where it used to be very, very tough to get these deals done.
Well, I think in some situations, maybe they've tried to get a modification. They can't get a modification of their loan, which sometimes reduces their interest rate, or they've tried to refinance and they don't qualify because of whatever situation. Who actually works with the lenders for the homeowner? How's that work?
The realtor actually, you sign over the ability for them to be able to talk to your mortgage company. So that's number one. Be prepared to document all of your situation in writing. It's like doing a whole new loan application, basically. So the only time that it really takes a lot of your effort is in the very beginning. You're going to take 2 to 3 hours gathering information up, giving it to your realtor, and after that, they take over. And they definitely work hard to get this house sold, because it's not really about selling the house anymore. The house is going to be priced so that it sells. It's about negotiating them to be able to do the short sale. That's what you're actually hiring a realtor to do, and that's why it's so important that you work with a realtor who's passionate about this type of sale.
Well, I would think, from a realtor standpoint, they get paid a commission when the house is sold. So if this process doesn't take 30 days or 60 days, this realtor is going to really work a long time to wait for that commission check at the end of the day. And I hate to put it in the business terms, but I think you're right. It would really take a realtor that is passionate about it and is there for the right reasons hang in there and make sure that this thing's sold and the clients can move out of their house.
I have to admit, we as realtors, we love showing houses and doing all this fun stuff, and we got into the business to meet people. A negotiation of a short sale takes a different type of realtor, a very detailed realtor who is on the phone nonstop with a negotiator who's negotiating this deal for them to get out from under it. That's why it's so important, and I can't stress enough, I don't care who you use, just use someone who's really, really good at it, who understands it, who says, we're going to get the deal done. And they will be able to tell you from the onset, I can take this one on or I cannot. You have a really good chance of accomplishing it or you don't. If someone tells you, I'm really not sure, then you might want to consider interviewing somebody else, because you need someone to be very confident and positive and know the bank to be able to get through it. I think that if I can stress anything, it's just be prepared to interview a couple of people. Be prepared to ask questions. Don't be embarrassed. And don't stop doing something because you got bad news once. Go ahead and pick up the phone and try again.
You're listening to Real Talk Texas on 570 KLIF News and Information. And if you want to contact Alicia Trevino, just reach out to us here at realtalktexas.com and send me a quick note, and I'll put you in touch with Alicia, and she can give you direction as far as finding the right realtor that knows what they're doing, that can really help you if you're out there listening. So one of the things I also wanted to talk about is, what can you do for someone? Is there any, how can you really help them as far as, okay, now they've gone through the process, they're leaving their house, it has to be devastating. Is there any programs out there that will help them move on to the next phase of their life?
There is. There's tons of them. This is going to blow your mind when I tell you this story. I had a gentleman who was in a $40,000 home. His spouse had gotten sick and they were behind on their payments, and so we negotiated with the bank, one of the top banks out here. And this is when this program first started out. And they sent us a letter and said, we are going to give them $14,000 so that they can grab their life and get it back together and get on track. I didn't believe it. I'm sitting here, you're talking about a homeowner who hasn't been able to pay his payment, who's been devastated by this whole thing, who had worked so hard to just buy this home for his family. So we went to closing, and I still didn't believe it. Even when I saw the HUD one where it shows them getting $14,000, like I kept it in my little file, because I thought for sure it's never going to happen. You should have seen his face when we handed him this money. It's priceless. You can't imagine that all of a sudden this man finally felt like there was some relief for his family. And he got to leave that home with his head high, moving forward. And this is what America's about, okay? I know we talk a lot about all the horrible things that are happening, but there are some really great programs out there for people. They will help you relocate. Most of the banks, there's the HAFA program where you do qualify, and you do have to qualify, so you have to pay the price of filling out the paperwork, and by price, I mean time, okay? You have to take the time to fill out the paperwork. And normally we can get you. And your people help them do that? We do it all. We sit down with them. Now, we need your cooperation to come into the office and fill it out. But once we do that, normally we're going to get you between $1,500 to $3,000 to move out of your home so that you have somewhere to put a down payment and, that type of thing. We are seeing more and more of these bigger amounts of money, and we'll know that because I'll have to know what bank you're with, what your situation is. We'll send it in for you. So that, again, is a case-by-case scenario, but it's happening more and more and more. The banks want to help.
Well, and as a lender, you sit there and go, wow, why would a lender pay somebody, or why would there be a program to move somebody out of the house? But then you stop and think of the cost of a foreclosure, and you think of the months that there aren't mortgage payments being made. You think of the attorney costs and the litigation, and to do it right, because all the banks have been under all the scrutiny with this robo-signature stuff on foreclosures. So, they're going to, I would think that this would be a transaction where they would say, hey, we would spend $10,000 on attorneys and all this overhead to try to get this possession of this house back. That if they could work with a realtor, this sounds like a great solution for a lender, that they would be able to, one, get with a qualified realtor like yourself, Alicia, and work a deal where they know that this realtor can get this house sold for the bank. they get a transaction done, and they can also help the homeowner move on. I think there was something at one time I heard cash for keys out there, and that there were people that were being paid to leave their houses rather than just stay there and not make the payments. And it was more of a friendly foreclosure, I would say. Right.
And on the cash for keys, we can certainly talk about that more on our next segment, because that's more on the foreclosure side, REO, than the short sale side. But definitely we can talk about that. I think people will be very surprised at what funds are out there to help them move on with their life.
And you're listening to Real Talk Texas. And after the break, we're going to ask Alicia Trevino of Century 21 in Uptown to discuss the secrets of finding a short sale home to purchase. If you're a buyer out there looking to purchase a home that's a distressed property, there may be some opportunities there, and she's got some secrets on how to find those and make that purchase and maybe get a great deal on a home.